28 years later, The Bone Temple serves as a direct continuation to the movie 28 Years Later, this one once again written by Alex Garland, but directed by Nia DaCosta. This movie takes place immediately following the events of 28 Years Later. Spike has joined a group of people called the Jimmies, led by Eggman, played by Jack O'Connell. They are a satanic cult that believes the rage virus is an act of the devil, you know, wreaking havoc on the world. So they're out doing the devil's bidding, which includes, you know, abducting people, intruding on people, and, you know, torturing them to death. So Spike's trying to find his way out of this group. Meanwhile, while that's going on, Dr. Kelson is on the verge of a potential breakthrough in what could be finding a cure to the rage virus. Eventually these two storylines will merge into one, and now it's just a matter of seeing exactly how that's going to happen. 28 Years Later was one of my most anticipated movies of last year, and I'm not gonna say the movie was a disappointment, but it didn't live up to the absurd hype that I think a lot of us had going into it, at least not for me anyway. So I went into The Bone Temple kind of with a lukewarm expectation. I was hoping for the best, but not necessarily preparing for the worst, but also understanding to not maybe get too excited over it. But I will say, speaking for myself, I think this one was a step up from the previous movie. And for me, what really carries this movie are the two lead performances from Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. I thought both these guys were amazing in this movie. I'll start off with Ralph Fiennes. We get a taste of his character, Dr. Kelson, from the last movie, and you know, the whole arc that he had with Spike and the journey that he was on. He played obviously a pivotal role near the end of the movie. However, I was hoping that the role he had in the movie felt more cohesive with the story that was namely going on in the previous movie. And what's great thing with his character in this movie is he still believes there is human in these infected. He doesn't believe the zombies are just now evil and purely gone. He believes there's a way to save them. So as a result, it brings for a very interesting dynamic with him and Samson, who's one of the alpha zombies that we encountered in the previous movie. Leads to a very, you know, unique circumstance going on between the two of them that is strange, odd, but also humorous, but also in a way that feels very human. And I just thought he completely played into that role. Like, he's just the right level of insane that he's prepared to put his life on the line and do what needs to be done to study the zombies to see if there's still a chance at saving them, at saving humanity and ending the virus. And he really does feel like a character that only Ralph Fiennes could play. Like, I walked out of seeing Dr. Kelson, I'm just like, I feel like this is a character that's only meant for Ralph Fiennes. His demeanor, his delivery, how he interacts with people, it just felt like a character that was made for this actor. And speaking of characters made for certain actors, I gotta say, Jack O'Connell, I'm not overly familiar with his work. I mean, I feel like the first movie I saw him in was Sinners, but I loved him in Sinners. And I gotta say, when it comes to playing these really sadistic, monstrous villains, he's really fucking good at that, because that's exactly what he does here. I mean, his childhood completely fucked him up in light of what he had to go through in light of the rage virus breaking out. And now here, he is using that to his advantage. Because of his beliefs and his ideology, he thinks this is the devil's work, he relishes in that, and he's taken his group of people called the Jimmies, he's brought them under his wing, and he's got them out doing what he believes is right. And this guy, I mean, he is unhinged, he is sadistic, he's crazy. I mean, he's one of those movie characters that really makes you feel unsettled, but you enjoy seeing him on screen. Like, he'll deliver lines that are funny, or he might come off occasionally as like well-meaning or something like that, but he also has a way of really intimidating the fuck out of you without really trying all that hard. And like I said, this dude is straight up evil. I mean, he will find innocent people, and because he believes what he believes, he's like, we gotta sacrifice these people to the devil, and to do that, we gotta torture the shit out of them. As a result, it's a lot of body horror in this movie, it's a lot of gory torture scenes in here, it's a lot of moments that really make you, you know, squirm. Like, this is a horror movie that's not really necessarily meant to scare you, if we're gonna call this a horror movie. It's one that's meant to just disturb you and make you feel gross a little bit. But that's what I like seeing with Spike. When he's stuck with these people trying to survive, he knows that what's going on is really bad and it's terrible, and he's gonna find some way out of it without getting himself killed. It's a real predicament that he's in. That is one of the other areas that I will say I did have a bit of a negative with this movie. I mean, the way I've described it, you would think Spike would be a very pivotal character in this movie. And I'm not going to say he doesn't matter, but he's a lot more of a supporting character in this movie. He's not the lead that he was in the last movie. And that was a bit of a bummer for me because I really enjoyed Alfie Williams' performance as Spike in the first movie. I thought he was maybe the best part of it, so I was really looking forward to seeing more of him here. But in this one, he's a lot more of a background character. I mean, you see the fear and the turmoil that he's going through in being a part of this cult, and he's trying to find ways out of it, but that's not really the focal point of the story. And he has like one other member of this group who's more empathetic and trying to help him out, but in his case, he feels more like an observer. Like, he kind of feels more like the audience. Like, when he sees some really fucked up shit going on, he throws up or something. That's kind of how we're supposed to feel. So naturally, I do wish his character maybe stood out a little bit more, was given a little bit more to do. He doesn't really do that. This movie is very much the Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell show, and to their credit, they fucking carry this movie very well. Especially in scenes with each other, because, I mean, the two of them will steal every scene they are in, and they will have moments where the two of them are on screen, namely with just each other, just talking to one another, and you're completely sucked in, it's riveting, it's awesome. And that's another thing that I will say with this movie. It borrows a similar element that 28 Years Later had, where it's like, you have these, essentially two different storylines splicing together to make the movie. However, in 28 Years Later, I didn't feel the splicing of the two different storylines felt very cohesive. It kind of felt like two different movies. Here, it makes sense. Like Dr. Kelson trying to find a way to find a cure to the zombies, and then Jimmy believing the zombies are a sign from the devil of taking over the world. And in the middle of that, towards the end of that rather, the last act, third act, whatever you want to phrase it as, that's when the two storylines merge together, and it does work. I mean, there's a way that Jimmy Gaines sees Dr. Kelson, there's a way Dr. Kelson sees these people. And when that all comes to a head, it does lead to some very intense moments, and I will say, you've probably heard about it by now, but there's a moment with Ralph Fiennes' character in the bone temple that he's constructed. Undeniably was pretty awesome. You know, he just has to go about something in a very theatrical, very, you know, over-the-top kind of way, but it completely works, and I was very entertained by it. When it comes to the end of this movie, or towards the very end of the movie, I will say, I do think the movie could have done a little bit more, namely with the zombie element. Like, there's a storyline, like I said, with Dr. Kelson and the alpha zombie Samson that is explored a little bit more on. I mean, they do make Samson much more of a character, which I thought was cool, but there's also a moment towards the end of this movie that I felt maybe the virus and the zombies could have played a little bit more of a role. Like, I thought the movie for a while was set up for a really epic, awesome, bloody, gory, like, zombie action kind of finale that we potentially could have gotten on our hands, and, well, we didn't really get that, and maybe the movie just wanted to stay grounded in that sense, but for me, and maybe this is just me talking, but I thought something like that would have been cool. It would have been a great way to end this version of this story. Not that there isn't zombie violence in this movie, not that there isn't the zombies doing their thing that we've been seeing them do in this franchise. That's still here, but it's a lot more of a backseat kind of thing. Like, yeah, the zombies themselves, they're not the monsters of this movie. The Jimmy cult is. And it does work for the story, but naturally, it does leave you maybe wanting a little bit more of the zombie action that you would hope for in a movie like this. So all in all, I really enjoyed 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Ralph Fiennes, Jack O'Connell absolutely crushed it in this movie. I loved seeing their characters on screen. They both completely delivered on what the characters needed to be. The movie is really intense and very unsettling when it wants to be. I like that it explores more on the understanding of this virus and if there is any hope in finding a cure for humanity in the long haul. There's not as much zombie, gory action that I was kind of hoping there would be in this one. You know, Spike doesn't have as much to do in this one as I would have hoped he would. The movie didn't leave me with as satisfying as an end as I was kind of hoping it was leading to, but maybe that's just me. And speaking of the very, very end of the movie, it is once again setting up for a third movie that will probably conclude this 28 years later story arc. And in the end, the way it does wrap up in the finale of this movie, I'd be very much interested in seeing that third act. So here's hoping this movie does well enough to give us the fitting conclusion to this 28 years later trilogy. I'm gonna give The Bone Temple a 7 out of 10, which makes this one worth going to the movies for.
All right, come on, hurry up, Brian. I don't want to miss the movie trivia slides before the movie.
So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.